The night shift at Luna Station was usually quiet, but tonight the communication array was screaming with signals from deep space. Dr. Hannah. Kim rubbed her tired eyes and adjusted the frequency controls one more time. She'd been working for 6 hours straight trying to decode the strange transmission that had appeared on their long-range sensors. "Come on, work with me here," she muttered to the equipment, fine-tuning the universal translator. The static cleared for a moment. Suddenly the main screen filled with an alien face. Hannah gasped and nearly fell from her chair. The being on the screen had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water, and large dark eyes that looked frightened. Behind it, she could see others of its kind moving frantically in what appeared to be some kind of command center. "Can you understand me?" the alien asked, its voice coming through the translator with a slight electronic echo. "Please, if anyone receives this message, we need your help." Hannah quickly activated the emergency protocols and sent an alert to Admiral Lee Tiemann at Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, the Admiral's weathered face appeared on her secondary screen. "What do we have, Dr. Kim?" he asked, his voice calm despite being woken up in the middle of the night. "First contact, sir, and they're asking for help." Admiral's expression grew serious. "Put it through to the main command center. I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, Admiral Lee Tiemann stood in the Luna Station communications room, watching as more alien faces filled the screen. The beings called themselves Zephyrians, and their leader, a female named Coral Singer, spoke with desperate urgency. "We are the last free worlds of our people," she explained, her large eyes reflecting genuine fear. "For 3 years, the hegemony has been conquering our star systems one by one. They do not kill us quickly. They capture us, break our minds, and turn us into slaves who serve them willingly." Captain Park Ji-won, who had arrived with the Admiral, leaned forward. "How many of your people are left?" 12 worlds, perhaps 50 million souls. The hegemony fleet will reach us within days. We've heard whispers of your species, humans of Earth. Stories say you are fierce warriors who do not surrender. We offer you our most precious resource if you will stand with us." Coral Singer gestured, and the screen showed a crystal that glowed with inner light. "These energy crystals power our cities and ships. One crystal can fuel your vessels for decades. We offer you 1,000 crystals if you will help us fight." Admiral Tiemann studied the alien carefully. "What exactly are we facing? How strong is this hegemony?" The screen changed to show massive gray ships shaped like daggers, surrounding a peaceful blue planet.
Oh.
They have conquered 47 species across 3 galaxy sectors. Their ships are powerful, but more terrible is what they do to captives. The Admiral felt his stomach turn as the screen showed processing centers where aliens of different species walked in perfect lines, their eyes empty and lifeless. Children were separated from parents without tears or protest, their minds already broken and rebuilt. "They call it optimization," Coral Singer continued. "They remove all emotions except loyalty to the hegemony. Love, fear, hope, anger, all gone. The person still lives, but everything that made them who they were is erased." Captain Park Ji-won clenched his fists. "Sir, we have to help them." Admiral Tiemann nodded slowly. "Dr. Kim, send this transmission to Earth Defense Command immediately. Mark it Priority Alpha, and get me a secure line to the President." As the communication ended, Coral Singer made one final plea. "Please, humans of Earth, we know we are strangers to you. We have nothing to offer but crystals and our gratitude. But if you do not help us, we will become empty shells wearing familiar faces. Our children will grow up as slaves who thank their masters for the privilege of serving." The screen went dark, leaving the 3 humans in silence. Outside the station windows, Earth hung in space like a blue marble, peaceful and unaware that its children might soon be asked to cross the galaxy to fight for strangers. Admiral Tiemann looked at his officers. "How long to mobilize the fleet?" "If we call up reserves and pull ships from patrol duty, maybe 72 hours, Captain Park replied. "Start making the calls." "Captain." "Yes, sir. Tell them this isn't a drill. We're going to war." Dr. Kim watched the Admiral leave, then turned back to her equipment. She began recording everything about the transmission, knowing that in a few hours, the most powerful people on Earth would be watching these desperate aliens and deciding whether humanity would answer their call. The Plea had crossed the stars and reached Earth. Now it remained to be seen whether Earth would bring the fire these desperate people needed to survive. 3 days after the alien transmission, Earth was buzzing with activity like a disturbed beehive. Admiral Lee Temin stood in the war room at Defense Command, watching as red dots appeared on the holographic display. Each dot represented a ship joining the largest military force in human history. "Status report," he called out to his staff. Lieutenant Yoon Sora looked up from her communications console. "Sir, we have 287 ships confirmed, ready for departure. The Thunderbolt battle group just finished loading supplies, and the Victory is taking on the last of the Marine units." General Kim Min-ho entered the room, his combat armor gleaming under the lights. "Admiral, my ground forces are ready. 15,000 Marines, all volunteers. They know this might be a one-way trip." Taemin nodded grimly. When the president had announced Earth's decision to help the Zephyrians, the response had been overwhelming. Soldiers, pilots, and crew members had volunteered faster than the military could process them. Even retired veterans had tried to re-enlist. "What about the new crystal drives?" Taemin asked. Dr. Hannah Kim, now serving as the fleet's chief science officer, pulled up technical readouts. The Zephyrians sent us detailed instructions along with their first shipment of crystals. Our engineers worked around the clock to install the new power systems. Can now travel distances that used to take months in just days. Captain Park Ji-won studied the fleet composition on his tablet. "Sir, we're bringing everything we have. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, fighters, and support vessels. If we lose this fleet, Earth will be defenseless." "Then we better not lose," Temin replied firmly. Across the solar system, families gathered around their screens to watch the preparations. In Seoul, Mrs. Lee watched her son board a transport ship, trying not to cry. In New York, children pressed their faces against school windows to see the massive ships passing overhead. In London, an old man who had fought in Earth's last war whispered a prayer for these young soldiers heading to fight for strangers. The enemy wasn't making things easy. Lieutenant Yoon Sora had been monitoring hegemony communications, and what she heard made her blood run cold. "Admiral," she reported, "we're picking up their intelligence chatter. They're calling us the primitive species from the third planet." One of their commanders said, and I quote, "These humans are barely out of their caves. A few ships should be enough to send them running back to their mud ball." General Kim Min-ho laughed harshly. "Let them think that. Arrogance has been the downfall of many enemies." "What do we know about their tactics?" Taemin asked. Dr. Kim brought up files they had received from the Zephyrians. "They fight like machines, sir. It's very organized, very predictable. They use overwhelming force in straight lines, expecting their enemies to either surrender or fight in traditional formations. They've never faced opponents who use irregular tactics." "Good thing we wrote the book on irregular tactics, General," Min-ho said with a grin. The preparations continued through the night. Weapons were loaded, supplies were stored, and final systems checks were completed. In the fleet's main hangar, pilot Choi Dae-sung was saying goodbye to his fighter, a sleek craft he had named Lightning. His wingman, Na Yeeman, was doing the same nearby. "You ready for this?" Yeeman asked. "Ready as anyone can be for fighting aliens across the galaxy," Dae-sung replied. My grandmother always said I was too stubborn to die young. Guess we'll find out if she was right." In the Marine quarters, Sergeant Lim Hyren was addressing her squad. "Listen up, people. We're going to fight an enemy that thinks we're primitive. They've conquered 47 species by breaking their spirits and turning them into slaves. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know that we get meaner when we're cornered, and we fight harder when we're protecting others." Private Kim Seon-woo raised his hand. "Sergeant, what if we can't win?" Hiron looked at the young soldier seriously. "Then we make sure our sacrifice means something. We make sure these Zephyrians know that at least one species in this galaxy was willing to stand up to bullies." As dawn broke over Earth, Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable. The massive vessel was the pride of Earth's fleet. equipped with the most advanced weapons and shields humanity could build. Now it would carry Earth's hopes across the void. All ships. Report ready for departure, Captain Park announced. Taman opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Admiral Teman to all ships. Today we leave our home to fight for people we've never met, on worlds we've never seen. We go because strangers asked for help, and that's what humans do. We answer the call. Some of you won't be coming home. But your sacrifice will mean that somewhere in this galaxy, children will grow up free because you were brave enough to stand up to evil. He paused, looking out at the stars. All ships engage crystal drives. Destination, Andromeda sector. Let's go show these hegemony bullies what happens when they threaten the innocent. The fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving Earth behind. The journey to save the Zephyrians had begun. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, and Admiral Lee Taman immediately knew they were too late for some. The main view screen showed a scene that made his blood boil. Massive gray hegemony ships surrounded the Blue Moon colonies, while smaller vessels herded groups of Zephyrians like cattle toward dark processing centers. Sir, we're receiving desperate transmissions from the surface, Lieutenant Yunsora reported, her voice tight with emotion. They're begging for help. The hegemony has been loading civilians into conversion ships for the past 6 hours. Through the enhanced cameras, Taman could see Zephyrian families being separated. Children reached for their parents as emotionless guards pushed them toward different ships. The sight made him think of his own daughter back on Earth. Admiral, the hegemony fleet is turning toward us, Captain Park, Juan announced. 37 ships, including 5 heavy cruisers. They're broadcasting a message. The screen filled with the face of a tall, gray-skinned alien with cold black eyes. I am War Commander Vex of the hegemony. You are the humans we have heard whispers about. Turn your primitive ships around and flee, or we will add your species to our collection of servants. Taman stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. This is Admiral Lee Taman of the Terran Defense Force. Release the civilians immediately, or we will take them from you. The hegemony commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 47 species have tried to stop us. All now serve the hegemony with grateful hearts. Your small fleet cannot hope to match our power. We'll see about that, Taman replied. Then cut the transmission. He turned to his crew. All ships, battle stations. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten innocent people. The Battle of Kepler's Edge began with a surprise that would be remembered for generations. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, the human fleet scattered like a flock of birds, each ship moving independently. The hegemony ships fired their massive weapons at empty space where the humans had been moments before. Fighter pilot Choi De-sung led his squadron through the debris field of an old asteroid mining operation. Lightning Squadron used the rocks as cover. Hit and run, just like we practiced. His wingman, Naiman, banked sharply around a spinning asteroid. Copy that, boss. These aliens fight like they're in a parade. No creativity at all. The human fighters darted between the larger ships like angry wasps, striking at weapon systems and shield generators before disappearing back into the asteroid field. The hegemony cruisers, built for straightforward combat, couldn't target the fast-moving human craft. Meanwhile, Marine Sergeant Lim Hiron and her squad were preparing for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Listen up, Marines. We're going to board that command ship and shut down their processing systems. The Zephyrians are counting on us. Our squad loaded into assault shuttles that looked tiny compared to the massive hegemony vessel they were approaching. Private Kim Seon-woo checked his plasma rifle nervously. Sergeant, what if their hull is too thick to breach? Then we'll knock on the door and ask them to let us in. Hiron replied with a grin that didn't hide her own fear. The shuttles attached to the enemy ship's hull, and the Marines began cutting through the thick armor with fusion torches. The hegemony crew inside was completely unprepared for boarders. They had conquered species that fought from a distance, not ones that climbed. Inside their ships to fight face-to-face, the battle raged for 3 hours. Human tactics confused and frustrated the hegemony forces who were used to enemies that fought in predictable patterns. But the turning point came when the hegemony commander made a desperate decision. Sir, The enemy flagship is changing course. Captain Park reported, his voice urgent. It's heading directly for the evacuation transports. Taman watched in horror as the massive hegemony ship accelerated toward the vessels carrying rescued Zephyrian civilians. Thousands of innocent lives hung in the balance, and there was only one way to stop it. All power to engines, he ordered, ramming speed. Sir, that's suicide, Park protested. Those are children on those transports, Captain. Set course to intercept. Indomitable turned toward the enemy flagship, its hull groaning under the strain of maximum acceleration. In the engine room, Chief Engineer O'Jain pushed the crystal drives beyond their safety limits. Come on, girl, don't fail me now, he whispered to his ship. The two vessels collided in an explosion that lit up the entire system. The hegemony flagship broke apart, its commander's final transmission nothing but static. The Indomitable was destroyed, but the evacuation ships were safe. General Kim Minho, watching from his command ship, felt tears on his cheeks. Admiral Temin, do you copy? Admiral, please respond. Only silence answered him. The remaining hegemony ships, seeing their commander dead and their tactics useless against human unpredictability, retreated to hyperspace. The Battle of Kepler's Edge was over. The cost had been high. As rescue ships pulled survivors from the wreckage, Coral Singer appeared on the communication screen, her large eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow. Admiral Teeman died to save our children. We will never forget this sacrifice. The galaxy had learned something new that day. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to protect others, even strangers, even at the cost of their own lives. The hegemony had faced their first defeat, and it wouldn't be their last. News of the human victory at Kepler's Edge spread across the galaxy faster than light itself, in hidden colonies and enslaved worlds. Whispers began to spread about the strange species from Earth that had actually defeated the hegemony in battle. General Kim Minho, now commanding the human fleet, found his communication systems flooded with desperate messages from dozens of alien species. Sir, we're receiving transmission requests from 17 different star systems, Lieutenant Yoon Sora reported from her station. They're all asking for help against the hegemony. Minho studied the star charts showing hegemony territory. Zones marked conquered worlds, while yellow areas showed systems under attack. We can't save everyone at once. We need to be smart about this. Captain Park Jiwon, now serving as Minho's second game command, pointed to a cluster of systems near the galactic rim. The Talaxians here are insectoid species with strong natural armor. If we can free them, they'd make excellent allies for ground combat. And the Vortons added Commander Bay Salman, studying intelligence reports. They're crystalline beings who can communicate instantly across vast distances. Their technology could help us coordinate attacks. But the hegemony wasn't sitting idle. War Commander Zrak, replacement for the dead Vex, issued new orders that chilled the blood of every free species in the galaxy. If we cannot hold a world, we will cleanse it. No species will be allowed to join these humans. The new strategy became clear when human scouts reached the mining world of Korvax Prime. Captain Shin Jun-ho led the reconnaissance mission, expecting to find another liberation opportunity. Instead, he found horror. General, you need to see this, he reported, his voice shaking. The main screen showed a world covered in smoke and ash. Where cities should have been, only empty ruins remained. Dr. Hannah Kim analyzed the sensor readings. Sir, there are no life signs. Entire population of 8 million Korvaxians is gone. The hegemony executed them all rather than let us free them. Minho felt rage building in his chest. How many other worlds have they done this to? 3 more, sir. The hegemony is destroying entire species rather than risk them joining our alliance. The war had become a race against time. Every day they delayed meant more innocent lives lost. Minho divided his forces into rapid strike groups, each targeting different hegemony positions simultaneously. Colonel O. Jaeon led the mission to free the Talaxian homeworld. The insectoid species had been enslaved for 2 years, forced to work in dangerous mines. When human marines and Zephyrian aquatic forces launched their combined assault, the Talaxians proved that their natural armor and fierce fighting spirit had not been broken. The humans kept their promise, clicked Hive Queen Zack, as her warriors joined the battle. We will fight beside them until the last hegemony ship burns. Meanwhile, Commander Basoman was working with the Vortons on the crystal world of Praxis. The Vortons look like living diamonds, their bodies reflecting light in beautiful patterns. But their real value was their ability to share thoughts instantly across the galaxy. "We can connect all allied forces," explained Crystal Mind Resonance. The Vorton leader. "No more delayed communications. Your generals can coordinate attacks in real time." The new alliance gave humanity advantages they had never imagined. Talaxian warriors could survive in environments that would kill humans. Vorton communication networks let scattered fleets act as one. Zephyrian ships could hide in nebulas where other vessels would be destroyed. But the hegemony was learning too. Their new tactics were brutal and effective. When Major Kong Mingi led an assault on the fortress world of Grimhold, she found the enemy had turned the entire civilian population into living shields. "General, they've positioned converted slaves around every military target," she reported. "If we fire on their weapons, we'll kill thousands of innocent people." Minho closed his eyes, feeling the weight of impossible choices. Can we tell which ones are still capable of being saved? Some show signs of fighting the mental conditioning, but most are too far gone. They'll attack us to protect their hegemony masters. The liberation of Grimhold took 3 days and cost hundreds of lives on both sides. Stood in the ruins of the fortress, looking at former slaves who couldn't remember their own names. Some cried when they realized what had been done to them. Others just stared with empty eyes. "Sir," Captain Park approached carefully, "we're intercepting hegemony communications. They're pulling back their outer fleets and concentrating everything at their capital world." "Dominus Prime," Minho said. "Quietly. They're making their final stand." Dr. Kim brought up tactical displays showing the hegemony capital system. It's the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. They've had centuries to build it up. Orbital defense platforms, minefields, and their entire remaining fleet. "How many ships do we have now?" Minho asked. 437, sir. Representatives from 12 different species. The largest liberation fleet in galactic history." Minho looked at the faces of his diverse crew. Humans, Zephyrians, Talaxians, Vortons, and others who had joined their cause. Each species brought their own strengths, their own reasons for fighting. "Then, we finish this," he decided. "Send word to all ships. We're going to Dominus Prime. It's time to end the hegemony's reign of terror once and for all." As the great fleet prepared for hyperspace, every being aboard knew they were heading toward the most important battle in galactic history. The outcome would determine whether freedom or slavery ruled the stars. The combined liberation fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Dominus system, and every crew member fell silent at what they saw. The hegemony's capital world was surrounded by a fortress that had been built over centuries. Thousands of defense platforms floated in perfect formations, their weapons pointed outward like the spines of a massive beast. "Sir, we're detecting over 800 hegemony vessels," reported Lieutenant Yoon Sora, her voice barely above a whisper. "They have everything concentrated here." General Kim Min-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship studying the tactical display. The odds were worse than anything they had faced before. For every liberation ship, there were almost 2 hegemony vessels waiting. General Crystal Mind Resonance's voice echoed through the Vorton communication network. "Our scouts report that the planet's surface has been converted into one massive weapons platform. The entire population has been moved underground or converted into soldiers." Captain Jung Houn, now commanding the fighter wings, checked her squadron reports. "Sir, we have pilots from 7 different species ready to launch. They're all volunteers who know this might be their last mission." The hegemony response came quickly. Supreme War Commander Thane appeared on the communication screen, his scarred face showing no emotion. "You have come far, little alliance. But this is where your rebellion ends. Surrender now, and we will make your conversion quick and painless." Minho stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of every species that had suffered under hegemony. "Rule. We didn't come here to surrender. Came here to end you. Then you will join the countless others who have died trying to stop us," Thane replied, cutting the transmission. The battle began with the largest coordinated attack in galactic history. Talaxian assault ships, their hulls gleaming like black armor, charged straight at the defense platforms. Their natural shells could withstand incredible damage, making them perfect for breaking through the enemy's first line. Hive Queen Zack. To all units, the Talaxian leader's voice clicked through the translators. We clear the path. Follow us to victory or death. Behind them, human fighters led by Captain Jung Houn wove through the gaps created by the Talaxian assault. The hegemony had never faced tactics like these before. Instead of one massive formation, the Liberation Fleet attacked from every direction. At once. Lightning Squadron, target the shield generators on Platform 7, Hound commanded, her fighter dancing between enemy fire. Phantom Squadron, take out the communication arrays. Major Kong Minji led the ground assault teams especially. Design drop pods. The hegemony had turned their planet into a fortress, but they hadn't expected enemies to land directly on the surface and fight building by building. Marines, remember your training, she called out as her pod crashed through the roof of a hegemony command center. Every building we take saves lives. Every enemy we defeat is one less threat to freedom. The battle raged for 18 hours. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, while fighters weaved between the massive capital vessels. Liberation. Fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were also dealing damage the hegemony had never experienced. Dr. Hannah Kim, monitoring the battle from the command ship, made a discovery that changed everything. General, I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's core. Powering their defenses with some kind of reactor that's about to overload. Overload? Minho asked.
Yes, sir.
If that reactor goes critical, it will destroy the entire system. They're willing to blow up their own capital rather than let us win. The revelation spread through the Liberation Fleet instantly via the Vorton communication network. Every species, every ship, every fighter pilot learned that they had minutes to either win completely or watch billions of lives disappear in nuclear fire. All units. This is General Minho. He broadcast to the entire fleet. We have one chance to end this. All fighters, all ships, everything we have goes at their command center now. What happened next would be remembered as the greatest display of courage in galactic history. Ships that were barely holding together made final attacks. Fighters with damaged engines continued their assault runs. Ground forces pushed forward. Even as the planet shook beneath their feet, Captain Jung Hyun's fighter was hit by enemy fire, its engines smoking. Instead of retreating, she aimed her damaged craft at the main defense control center. For Earth, for freedom, for everyone who can't fight back, she whispered. And crashed her ship into the heart of the enemy fortress. The defense systems went dark just as Major Kang Minji's Marines reached the reactor control room. They found Supreme War Commander Thane standing over the self-destruct controls, his finger on the activation switch. If I cannot rule the galaxy, no one can, he snarled. Maybe, Minji replied, raising her weapon. But at least everyone will be free. A shot that ended the hegemony's rule echoed through the command center. As Thane fell, his hand moved away from the controls, and the reactor began to power down safely. Across the system, hegemony ships began to surrender, to doubt their supreme commander and their fortress world. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was finally broken. General Minho stood among the ruins of the command center, watching as former hegemony soldiers removed their helmets and looked around as if seeing the world for the first time. Some were crying, others were laughing. All of them were free. Sir Lieutenant Yunsora's voice came through his communicator. We're receiving surrender signals from hegemony forces in 17 different systems. The war is over. Minho looked up at the stars, thinking of Admiral Taman and all the others who had died to reach this moment. The Plea had crossed the stars, and Earth had brought the fire that ended the night.